What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Pushing Purpose podcast with your girl and your host, TILAGO, aka Tiffany. If you can't tell, there's something new with the podcast right now. I am attempting, and this whole episode is going to be about this, but I am attempting to finally have a visual for you guys, actually recording myself sitting here on video as well. So if you're only listening to this on audio, you're missing out. Okay, you can see your girl live and in color. Okay, if you tune in, I'm sure there's a way that I can show you on like Spotify and Apple, but of course we're going to post this on YouTube. I can't even believe I'm saying that again. Like we're doing what? So, but again, this whole episode is going to be about that. I'm sure you've already seen the title. Yeah. So let's just get into it. Like, y'all, I don't even know if I can really find the words. I am super excited about this venture. I'm very nervous though, because I am someone, as you guys have already probably been able to tell, like, I like to start and stop stuff. Well, I don't like to, I just do. My nature is to start things and not finish them. And I just don't want that to be my story anymore. And so I'm really trying to lean into the things that I'm passionate about and going for them from start to finish. And so, of course, the podcast is something I'm super passionate about. And in many, many, many years past, I was really passionate about YouTube. I never thought I would be back on this platform, even if this is the only video, which God, we are praying that it is not, that I post in these coming weeks, months, years to come. But I never thought I would be back on this platform. I just didn't think that this was the path that God had for me. But I've really just been praying about like, what is the next thing for me to do? As many of you know, I'm back in digital marketing day to day. My 9 to 5 is in digital marketing. And so I was like, okay, God, I know that you've created me for more than this though. Like, I did not experience the year that I just experienced for no reason. I have not created all these things in the past for no reason. Like, what is this? Like, what is the thing that you have for me to do? I felt like God was like, I need you to take a look back. I need you to look back at your life and pull out the nuggets that point you in the right direction of what you are supposed to be doing right now. And so I looked back and I was like, okay, I know that you've created me to use my voice. That is 100% my purpose. That is what I'm here for. That is me. And so how do I use it in this season? And I was like, well, the ways that I've used it in the past were on YouTube, were the podcast, were speaking on stages, were having small groups. Like, I've used my voice in so many different ways. Like, which one, God, right? Because of course, whenever we ask God and he gives us an answer, we're always like, oh, but why? Like little kids, right? Where they're like, but why? We ask, but okay, what's next? Okay, what else? Okay, what else? And God is like, hey, I just need you to get one answer and take that answer and actually go do something with it. I need action from you, baby girl. Okay. Faith without works is dead. Okay. And so I was like, all right, like, and I've been sitting on this for months now, because we're in, what month is this? We're in April. And I had been thinking about this since the beginning of the year for sure. And so anyway, I looked back over my life and realized all the different ways that I've used my voice. And I said, okay, I know the podcast is supposed to come back, but are you actually saying I'm supposed to do video too? And I felt like God was like, yeah. And then confirmation after confirmation came, because there were plenty of you, some of you watching right now, who have reached out and were like, don't you remember that time where you were doing YouTube? Hey, don't you remember that time you had a podcast? Like, so many different people, and I mean different people who don't normally reach out, or people who don't normally say anything about things that I've done, that even though they support. And so it was just like, okay, let me pay attention to what the Holy Spirit is saying and how he's moving and shaking and how he's speaking through these people. And then I was listening to my girl, Stephanie Ike. Pastor Stephanie Ike is just literally probably my favorite voice right now to listen to and to hear, because I just believe she is so anointed and so gifted and so prophetic. And I just feel like everything she says, like, God has crafted her to speak directly to me selfishly, right? Everything's about me. But I was watching a sermon of hers recently, like, and I literally just watched it this week, and I've watched it over and over this week already, and it's only Tuesday. And she was talking about how there are words that God has given you, and there are dreams that he has put in your hearts and given you, and you have thrown them away, or you have discarded them, and you have gone after another shiny thing, and you've realized that that shiny thing was not the thing for you. And so he's like, just because you threw a word away doesn't mean that it's not still the word that God has spoken over you, and it's not still something that he is going to have come to pass. And I was like, yeah, like, the whole sermon is amazing, and I'll link it down below and in the show notes. But I was just so taken at that moment, because I think that I've always had a real issue with like thinking that moving back towards something or going backwards is the wrong move. We should always be forward moving, right? But if there is like, God is so, his thoughts and his ways are so much higher than ours. I say that all the time because it shows up in my life all the time. And so the way that it showed up in my life this time is that God shifted that whole perspective and that thinking, because not only, y'all, am I like back here, you know, doing the podcast and doing YouTube, but you guys, I'm back at the position, the job, the career that I was before I was working at the church. And I was just like, that can't be where you want me to be. Like, I've already been there. I've got it. We have to be doing something new. And he was like, no, you don't understand that I'm always wanting to do a new thing. And that doesn't mean that the new thing has to be completely new, completely Kanos new, right? It could also mean that I want to take something old, something you've done before, something you've seen before, and I want to shift it, and I want to do something new with that thing. So can you just follow me, listen to me, and do what I tell you to do? So that meant I had to go backwards. So I'm feeling like this year is a lot of backwards movements in terms of physically, but I'm in such a different place as I'm doing them. Even as I record this podcast and as I sit here and create, like, I'm in a new space. Like, mentally, emotionally, I'm just in such a much more healthy space, even than I was when I was creating before. And my eyes are so much more open in a spiritual way, even than they were before. And so I realized God is doing a new thing. And so I'm just going to follow him. I'm just following, right? Now, the title that you saw of today's episode is Perfect Ain't Coming. And that was just the perfect title for today, y'all, because it took me forever. I told y'all that I've been sitting on this. I've heard God say, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this season. And I've sat on it for months. But it's because I've been waiting for perfect. I've been waiting for the perfect conditions. I've been waiting for the perfect moments. I've been waiting for the perfect situations to create like this. And even as I sit right here, right now, this is not the way that I thought I was going to start this. I'm recording on my phone. I thought I would have a camera or something that I would buy by now. I'm sitting here with this mic, which I, love. It has gotten me through so many different episodes and seasons and things, but it's not the mic I wanted to start recording on. I'm like, my laptop is right here. Like, it's just a messy kind of feel to me, but like, it's not what I thought was going to be perfect. And also, I was like, I don't have 25 million topics to talk about. I mean, I can come up with them, but I was like, I don't have 25 million topics that I've fleshed out, that I haven't planned episodes. I don't know pieces of episodes that I want. And so, like, a lot of this is just going to be completely trial and error, completely like, we are just walking blind, but we are walking by faith. And if I'm walking by faith, then I trust that God has got me. Okay. So everything that we're doing right now is not perfect. Everything I'm doing right now is not perfect, but everything I'm doing right now feels very much obedient. I believe that God was already pleased with me before I even posted this. He's pleased with me in this moment right now because I am doing this. I'm attempting to do this again. And I'm telling y'all, like, I was procrastinating. I was like, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I don't have this. I don't have that. And God was just like, I would go back and I'd say, okay, God, what do you want me to do next? And he'd be like, I have already given you the answer. Or he'd just be silent because he's like, I've already given you the answer. So I don't know why you keep asking. Like, you can keep seeking me, but don't keep asking the same question that I've already given you an answer to if you don't actually plan to go and do something with that answer. And I have just been so convicted. So anyway, perfect isn't coming. It's not coming for you. It's not coming for me. And so whatever it is that God has given you, the dream, the step that he's giving you to take, the thing he's giving you to pursue, the habit he's giving you to take on, like, do it now. I think that we really lack a sense of urgency in the world today. Like, we have this sense of like, oh my God, there's danger approaching. Like, our world can change and shift in the blink of an eye, but there's like still this lack of urgency to do and to be the people that God has called us to be and to do the things he's called us to do, right? And y'all, like, the kingdom of God is here now. It is at hand. That means it is present. It is with us, right? We are the kingdom. We are a part of the kingdom. And I think we forget that we carry that with us every single day. There are people who are dying every single day. There are people who are without hope and without love and without joy and without peace every single day that we encounter. And because we don't have this sense of like, oh my gosh, there's this, you know what comes to mind? I read this book, John Bevere, amazing author, his books have I know people say this, but his books have actually changed my life. Like, I have read his books and I have gone and had to change my life completely. So there's this book that he wrote years ago. It's called Driven by Eternity. It is so freaking good, y'all, because it shifts the perspective and the mindset of me and of us and of anyone who reads it. And it makes you think, oh my gosh, my life is really only like, but this amount of time. It's so short. And so I have to start looking at it with lenses that God has of me, of my life. And I have to start seeing my life as an eternity. And so I have to start living my life as an eternity. I don't have long here on this earth. I will have longer in eternity after this life than I will have here and now. This is Holy Spirit, because this is not where I thought I was going to go with this episode, but you do not have long to do the things that God has called you to do here on this earth. And so you do not have time to waste. I do not have time to waste. And I've wasted so much time. But I really do believe that God is redeeming the time of those who are being faithful, who are seeking him, who are actually doing and pursuing the things that he's calling them to pursue this year. 2024 is the year to pursue. It's the year to do the thing that God has called you to do without question, without doubt, without feeling like, or without needing all the answers. It's the year to do the thing that you were called to do. And I just really have felt that so strongly over my life this year and these past few months. And I couldn't, it was like God like expedited healing for me. Because if you didn't already know, I have often already talked about, and I'll probably dig into it more later because I know y'all want to ask all the questions, and I really want to share because I believe that there are a lot of people who are dealing or who are in similar situations as I was, that I put myself in. But I had a whole year of dealing with the consequences of a disobedient decision. And I believe in that, that like there were so many broken pieces to me at the end of last year. So much brokenness, so much hopelessness, so much fear, so much anxiety, just so many things that I was like, I am so unhealthy. And I brought it all to God, and I just laid it at his feet. And he really has healed me to a point to where I feel so much more healthy. I just feel so much better. And I believe that he expedited it because he said, okay, you have things to do. And yes, there's still areas of my life and areas of my heart that I'm sure he's still mending, and he's going to be mending for the rest of my life. But I believe that he expedited things so that I would get to work. And so I am just here to tell you, y'all, it is time to get to work. The perfect conditions are not coming. You're not going to feel like everything is perfect around you in this moment. And so you've just got to go for it. Do the thing that God has called you to do. Obedience is better than anything. It is what God calls us to. It is the life that he's called us to live. Be obedient. And so I have notes right here because y'all know I'll ramble, as I have already done, because y'all, I really did not plan to go there, but clearly I just really think that's what God wants to speak to us today. Is there's urgency with our gifts. There's urgency with the things that he's given us to do. And I think even more so, like I always talk about like windows of opportunity. And I think that, yes, 100%, God uses every season, and he can, bring chances back around whenever they need to come. But I think that we miss a lot of windows of opportunity. I'm talking about wide open windows, that God opens windows, he opens doors, and he's like, I just need you to go through it. I just need you to, like, this is your time. The time is now. And because we are trying to figure it all out, because we want all the answers, because we want things to be perfect, like, those windows close, those doors close. And then we're like, oh my God, like, God, no, like, open it again, open it again, open it again. He's like, no, it was open for long enough. And so because you didn't do what I called you to do, I have somebody else to do it. Listen, my favorite book of the Bible, it might change over time, but it has remained Esther, because I see just how important it is for us to be the people that God has called us to be in that book. And you see that God is I say God is, but I know that it is Mordecai who's speaking, her uncle. But he says that, hey, but maybe you were created for such a time as this. But guess what? If you don't do it, my God will have someone else to do it. And that is something that I don't think we think about enough, or that we don't internalize enough. Y'all, God will get somebody else to do it. Okay. Y'all know that gif or that meme where she's like, get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. God is like, oh, no problem. We may not actually say that out loud with our mouths. Like, we're not going to God and being like, get somebody else to do it. But our actions are actually speaking, hey, God, you can get somebody else to do that. It ain't me. I'm not doing that for whatever reason. Right. And God is like, okay, no problem. Like, I'm gonna let you keep, figuring things out over here in your corner. But I got somebody else over here who has been preparing for this moment. And as soon as they realized that their window of opportunity was open, they stepped through. The door was open, they stepped through without having all the answers, without knowing it all, without knowing what was beyond the door. They stepped through. And so, yes, our moments will come back around if God so graces us with that. But I pray that we would find this sense of urgency within ourselves to go through the doors and go through the windows whenever they open the first time, because perfect is not coming. So I did not expect for this episode to go here, like I said, but what I want to kind of try to wind us down with and leave us with are some scriptures that really have come to mind over the course of these past few months. And I think they're just they've been my staple scriptures for the year. And I'm going to actually read it. So let me find it first. I've been all over the Bible, clearly, trying to find scriptures. Oh, it's not that way. Girl. Okay, y'all, I found it. So the verse that comes to mind for me right now is Isaiah 55. And I realize every time I read this, how many things are in this book or this chapter that I say all the time. But I'm going to read a lengthy passage, but it is all connected to what we're talking about today. So it says, Isaiah 55, we can start at verse 8. Man, we could start all over the place. Verse 6 says, seek the Lord while he may be found, call on him while he is near. Urgency. Okay, but we're going to start at verse 8. And it says, this is the NIV, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Verse 10 says, as the rain and the snow come down from heaven and do not return to it, without watering the earth and making it bud and flourish, so that it yields seed for the sower and bread for the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it. And so these verses have been speaking to me so much. On one hand, they've been speaking to me because this is like God saying, hey, the words that I've spoken over you, the promises that I've given you in your life, the things that you are to see and to be, they will happen in due time, in due season, in my timing and in my season, because my thoughts and my ways are higher than yours. So I know when it's time to make it happen. And so that part, right, I'm grateful for this verse because it reminds me okay, the promises he said and he's spoken over me, and the dreams he's put in my heart, those things are absolutely going to happen by his hand, right? And then on the other hand, I love these verses because they convict me, but they remind me that God is saying, hey, if I have spoken that I want something to happen in the earth, that something is going to happen in the earth, then it is going to happen in the earth. So my prayer has been for myself, I pray that the things that you have spoken that will happen in the earth through me, I would be bold and courageous and trust you enough to allow them to actually happen through me. And he's saying, my word will not return to me void, which again, I'm telling you, if it doesn't happen by you, by the person that he crafted to do it, he will find another. He already has another. I'm telling you that right now. But he's so gracious and so kind and so loving that he's so patient with us and gives us time in order to allow us to grow into the courage that we need and allow us to grow into the hope or whatever it is that we need so that we will do the thing that he has actually created us and crafted us to do. And so this is absolutely a purpose talk episode, of course, right? Because we're on the Push and Purpose podcast. But this is like one of those things where it's like in your purpose, you just got to know that everything is not going to make sense. It's not all going to be perfect. All the perfect circumstances are not going to be present for you every single moment that God tells you to do something. And so even when they are not, you have still got to live on purpose. You've still got to live in purpose. You've still got to be who he called you to be and created you to be. And so I don't know what it is that you are procrastinating right now. I don't know what it is that you're not doing. I don't know what it is that you have thrown away, the word that you have thrown away that God has spoken over you. But it is still true and it still remains, and he still is going to see it accomplished. It's not going to return to him void. And so I need for you to go ahead and like pull up your bootstraps, okay? Strap them on. Pull up your big girl undies and your big boy undies, all right? And let's get to work. It's time to get to work. There's too much work to be done in the earth through you that is not getting done because you are fearful and doubtful and trying to figure it all out before you take a step. It's time to take a step. And this is me talking to you harshly as I'm talking to myself harshly in love, okay? But I really mean this. Like, we have got work to do. We were not created with purpose for no reason. So let's get to it, okay? And so our pit stop journaling prompt moment of the week. For those of you who are on YouTube, this is the moment that I pause because I love journaling. That's how I really got started with all this creativity of mine. And I always want us to take a step and take a moment to journal, take a moment to actually write down our thoughts and to process through our thoughts through journaling. And so I give a journal prompt at the end of each episode. I pray I remember this. In order for you to take it from this episode and go and do something with it and not just listen to the episode and then go be inspired and do nothing. And so our pit stop journaling prompt moment of this episode of the week is, what is the thing that God is calling you to do and what is stopping you from doing it? What is the thing that God is calling you to do and why aren't you doing it? What is stopping you from doing it? And I want you to be honest with yourself, as I always ask you to be in your own journal. Nobody else is reading it. You're not reading it from the rooftops. It's just you and your journal and God. So answer this question honestly and go for it. Okay, this is long enough. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to this first audio and visual episode of the Pushing Purpose podcast. If you've already been listening to the podcast over the past few seasons, then I am so grateful for you. You do not understand how how much joy it brings to my heart to know that I am impacting your life in one way or the other, and that you're actually allowing me to talk to you directly in your ear. Okay, like you're choosing to listen to me. Thank you so much. And for those of you who maybe just pulled up on your girl, just thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for being here. I pray that this episode brought you some empowerment, some enlightenment, some encouragement, and it probably brought you a push, okay, because I'm known for doing that, and I'm okay with doing that. But I pray that it brought you something. All in all, I'm just so grateful for each and every one of you. Go ahead, if you're on YouTube, and like this video, comment down below anything that you got from the episode. Definitely share it with a friend, family, someone that you know. And same for you if you are listening on other streaming platforms. Definitely rate and review the podcast and share it with a friend or a family member or somebody that you know needs to hear it. I'm grateful. I'm attempting to show up once a week, y'all. I'm attempting. Every time I say that, I just freak myself out and it never happens. But I am attempting because I got work to do. Okay, I'm speaking to myself in that. So I cannot wait to see you in the next episode. And so until then, go push some purpose. See y'all.